Welcome to all the attendees to this event, which is the final conference of the European project Protoatlantic. My name is Jorge Galvan, and I'm the project coordinator within Innovation Association as lead partner. First of all, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Isabel Silva, the Protoatlantic project officer, because due to a last-minute issue, she's not able to attend this event today. Anyway, there's no problem on that. As many of you probably know, Protoatlantic is a project co-funded by the Protoatlantic Area Program, with an initial duration of 3 years and an extension of 1 additional year due to the COVID lockdown, which delayed some of the key project actions. A total budget of 1.8 million euros and the participation of a number of partners that we will see afterwards, representing the countries of Spain, Portugal, Ireland, France, and Scotland. And the project is framed within the Atlantic Area Program, priority dedicated to enhancing innovation capacity through cooperation to foster competitiveness, with a particular focus on the blue growth and economy domain. So now, without any further delay, we'll jump into the first presentation of the conference, and for that I will share my presentation. Okay, so I hope you can all see it properly. Just as an introduction to the blue growth, sorry, it was the first slide, sorry about that. We'd like to start the conference providing the audience with some general aspects, such as the rationale and the motivation that led us to build a project like Protoatlantic, the collaboration scheme and resources put in place to successfully develop it, and the basics on what we have done during these past 4 years and why we have done it. So all this will serve as a starting point to dig a bit more on the different domains that Protoatlantic has worked over during today's conference, with the final and clear goal of supporting European marine startups in facilitating the process of for taking innovation into the market. Just as an introduction to the blue growth economy, and which are considered the main marine sectors involved nowadays, together with some other maritime related activities, we can stress that during the last years, the blue growth efforts has put the focus on specific aspects and weak points, let's say, affecting the progress on those different marine and maritime sectors. We're talking about the growth achieved in the marine renewable energies, or even the tourism field, or the increasing approach to the market of products within the biotechnology industry, among others. However, and despite all this, relevant challenge is commonly identified in most of the marine sectors, which is the insufficient investment and related difficulties, we can say, in order to take innovation to the market in the form of exploitable products and services. Within this context, the entrepreneurship raises as a key concept, highly linked to innovation and conforming the main pillar that the Protoatlantic project has built upon. As we know, startups and technology-based companies who intend to develop a product or services for which they believe there is a demand in the market. But however, many of those startups still fail within the first 3 years because either didn't have fully and properly developed business model, or even because they lack adequate resources such as access to testbed infrastructures or even capital. That is what is known as the valley of death, and that is why this initial period is so important for the success of the companies. But companies and startups in the marine sector are even more exposed, and they're more intensive in knowledge on hardware components, and so the access to key resources is even more complicated and in many occasions quite expensive for them. The experience indicates that the startups in this sector normally lack prototyping and testing capabilities in general, business model training, expert mentoring, and access to funding and investment, which is so critical for them. And all these elements end up being crucial for startups to convert their research and innovation projects into marketable products. As a result, and unfortunately, there are a lot of ideas and innovative projects that are lost on the way. So these are the main reasons that led us to design Protoatlantic as an Atlantic area-based collaborative project that intensively working over the 6 key domains shown on the right-hand side figure that you can see in your screens, proposed to put in place a Protoatlantic and testing program specialized in the marine sector, a support and acceleration initiative for startups consisting of focused training, expert mentoring, and investment opportunities, and the promotion of a friendlier policy and ecosystem building framework for marine entrepreneurship and innovation. And all these following and specifically designed methodology that we will further expose later on within the conference, which intended to be different and innovative enough compared to any other existing startups supporting programs in the market today, adapted to the needs and particularities, and therefore benefiting from a high specialization in the marine sector. At this point, I'm following a well-structured process that we will further develop during the rest of the conference. As first objectives, we can say that what we did, we can say hand in hand with local entrepreneurial communities, we started by recruiting the most promising startups in 5 different Atlantic European regions. And we made sure that they were focusing on emerging markets and technologies with high potential. Why we did it? Because we wanted to attract the best ideas and marine innovations and bring them together with expert knowledge to generate new market solutions for common challenges. Then, as a second step or objective to fulfill, what we did, we supported these startups, accompanying them from their idea to the market. The assistance provided consists of regional community building and marine stakeholder workshops, a focused international knowledge sharing bootcamp, an expert mentoring phase, also the access to testing, prototyping infrastructure and investment opportunities, and all that in order to facilitate the materialization of this idea into new business with high potential. And why we did it? Because we decided to create a unique ecosystem in the Atlantic area where the creation and development of ideas would be somehow underpinned with a methodology that progress from business model to market validation, also including during the path test phases. And finally, as last objectives, what we did, we completed this development process with the prototype and launch to the market of the most innovative and feasible ideas. And we prepared the path for those startups to pitch in front of investors with a solid new product that is something that will occur tomorrow. And why we did it? Because we understood that these advancements in the marine sector can meet the needs of newly emerging markets and, of course, facilitate greater sustainability and business capacity, as well as creating quality jobs. So as to achieve all those objectives and generate promising results with a potential to be replicated also in some other geographical locations in Europe, Protoatlantic built a consistent consortium of experienced and complementary partners, always trying to implement highly collaborative mechanisms, which has been key during our project execution. So it's to be stressed that the Atlantic area faces common marine challenges in a wide area comprising the entire coast from Scotland in the north to the Canary Islands in the south. Both regions represent, as you will see later on, in Protoatlantic. And therefore, thus, following this existing need in the project, we have always aimed at generating new solutions to those common challenges, taking advantage, of course, of local knowledge and resources. In this context, the Protoatlantic Consortium represents the Atlantic regions of Oporto in Portugal, Brest in France, Cork in Ireland, Orkney in the north of Scotland, and the Canary Islands in the south of Spain. Through the group of partners shown, as you can see in the figure. Besides, the project established collaboration links with associated regions such as Southampton in the UK or Casablanca in Morocco. And here and from the beginning of the project, we highlighted the importance of including key actors such as research centers and universities for the identification of potential ideas that we will later on will end up on supporting, as well as involving other policymakers and business support agencies as well to provide the ecosystem with the long-term support impacting on policies related to blue growth and entrepreneurship as well. Together with this, another novelty was the impact gathering together in the same ecosystem, not only startups, investors, business support agencies and entities, but also high-level prototyping and testing centers, therefore creating a fruitful dialogue and conversation, ongoing conversation between all the stakeholders for the product development in the marine sector of the European Atlantic area. So thank you very much. I will stop sharing my screen now. Now with this, I'd like to close this first block of the conference for the welcoming of all of you and contextualization and introduction as Protoatlantic as an European project. And now we'll directly jump into the second block, which is dedicated to European strategies and initiatives on blue growth, supporting blue growth in general, where we will have the opportunity to have two different speeches from two different persons about which are those main initiatives and supporting strategies at the moment on the blue growth economy and economy domain in Europe. So with this, I'd like to pass on the floor to Cecilia Samos, representing the national node in Spain of the Atlantic Action Plan.
Thank you, Jorge. I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this workshop. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. What is the Atlantic strategy? The European Commission adopted an Atlantic maritime strategy in response to repeated calls from stakeholders for a more ambitious, open and effective cooperation in the Atlantic Ocean area. The members of the Atlantic strategy are Portugal, France, Ireland, and Spain. The strategy, in line with the European 2020 agenda and its flagship initiatives, group the identified challenges and opportunities facing the Atlantic region under 5 main thematic headings: application of the ecosystem approach, reduction of Europe's carbon footprint, sustainable exploration of natural resources on the seabed, response to threats and emergencies, promotion of socially inclusive growth. The next action plan set out practical steps to be taken in the 4 member states with Atlantic coasts in order to boost the Atlantic Ocean's area's sustainable blue economy by 2020. Its priorities were promote entrepreneurship and innovation, protect, secure, and enhance the marine and coastal environment, improve accessibility and connectivity, create a socially inclusive and sustainable model of regional development. With the knowledge of these previous plans, a new action plan 2.0 is taking place. This action plan consists on a common vision for sustainable, resilient, and competitive blue economy in the European Union Atlantic area. The European Union Atlantic area, these pillars focus, in the Atlantic Action Plans, we can find 4 pillars. These pillars focus on issues that one coastal region or one single state cannot solve alone, or it is more efficient to act together. Each country leads one pillar. Pillar 1, Ireland leads Pillar 1, and the person who is in charge of these pillars is Liam Lacey. Pillar 1 refers to ports as gateways and hubs for the blue economy. This pillar has two goals. Ports as gateways for trade in the Atlantic, ports as catalysts for business. Pillar 2, this pillar, Portugal leads Pillar 2, and the person who is in charge of this pillar is Ana Norona. Pillar 2 refers to blue skills of the future and ocean literacy. And this pillar has two goals also: quality education, training, and lifelong learning, and ocean literacy. Spain leads Pillar 3, and the person who is in charge of this pillar is Ola Chajuria. And Pillar 3 refers to marine renewable energies. France leads Pillar 4, and the person who is in charge of this pillar is Phil Monbet. Pillar 4 refers to healthy ocean and resilient coasts, and has two goals also: stronger coastal resilience and the fight against marine pollution. You can see now the photos and the names of each leader of each pillar. And now, how the assistance mechanism work? As you can see, the communication is very fluent. The National Hub reports to the central management and also to the Atlantic Strategy Committee. DG Mare and TINEA give us the feedback and guidelines of our reporting activities. What does the assistance of the action plan through the national hubs? Give stakeholders updated information on the revised Atlantic Action Plan, its research and investment priorities, hot news, interesting events and networking opportunities, and provide a matchmaking platform for potential project promoters and advise you on the use of the European Union and national or regional financial instruments for project implementing the action plan. Now I'm going to talk about the funding opportunities. Yeah, the first one is from the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund call with 3,875 million euros. This call refers to flagship projects, pilot strategic initiatives that strengthen sea basin level collaboration in the Atlantic, the Black Sea, and the Western Mediterranean to achieve the goals on the relevant sea basin strategy. The call covers the following three topics that you can see on the slide. Innovative multi-use projects combining offshore renewable energy with other activities and/or with nature projection in the Atlantic. Projects under this call topic will advance multi-use integrated offshore renewable energy solutions in the Atlantic towards the commercial phase. Black Sea economy, also you can see economy investment and innovation capacity building pilot. Projects under this call topic will identify and tackle local capacity building needs to boost innovation, digitalization and investment in the Black Sea blue economy. And the third one, recovery in coastal and maritime tourism in the Western Mediterranean. Projects under this call topic will develop a multidimensional and integrated approach to rebuilding coastal and maritime tourism, including cruise tourism in the Western Mediterranean through innovation and destination management or design and of smart ecotourism packages. If you have any idea that suits with this goal, and you look for consortium with big enterprises or any other enterprises, please do not hesitate to contact me. And the deadline of this call is the 12th of January of 2022. Now I'm going to talk about the Horizon Europe missions, because the Horizon Europe now it's divided into pillars, clusters, and missions. And now the mission that we are focused now is restore our oceans and waters by 2030. The objectives are: protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystem and biodiversity in line with the European Union Biodiversity Strategy, prevent and eliminate pollution in line with European Union Zero Pollution Action Plan, make the sustainable blue economy carbon neutral and circular in line with European Union climate law. This mission will be updated with news and opportunities during the next months. Though we are having a stakeholder meeting and on the 21st of October, and we are going to talk about these missions. Well, as I told you, each country have a national hub. In France, you have Frederick Herpers, Ireland, Elizabeth Gavin, Portugal, Miguel Marquez, and Spain, you can see Marta Pascual because I'm substituting her till the 31st of December. And she will be back on January. Okay, there you can find my contacts and any information, the website of the Atlantic Strategy, where you can find funding opportunities and other and the explanation that I have told you, and also my email because it's Marta Pascual's email. Okay, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, for your pitch. Now, I'd like to pass on the floor to Simon Hardiman from CARSA, who will give us some insights about the European Blue Invest initiative. So, Simon, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's just see if I can. There we go. Can everybody see that clearly?
Perfect, yeah.
Okay, marvelous. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Blue Invest initiative, which is funded by the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. The aim of Blue Invest is to boost innovation and investment in sustainable technologies for the blue economy by supporting readiness and access to finance for early stage businesses, SMEs, and scale-ups. I want to highlight now some of the key features of the Blue Invest initiative. The Blue Invest community is open to entrepreneurs, investors, corporate and innovation stakeholders that are interested in the blue economy. Its content and activities are designed to help startups and SMEs with investment and growth prospects. Participants are able to meet potential partners and investors, and they can gain access to exclusive business impact events, market intelligence, and learning opportunities. And events feature knowledge exchange, networking, and B2B matchmaking in formats that are designed to transform business. Another component is the Blue Invest pipeline, which provides access to a showcase of innovative projects and entrepreneurs that are working to shape the blue economy. Projects consist of innovative, scalable, and sustainable business ventures from traditional emerging sectors of the maritime economy. To showcase your project, you must submit an application, and the Blue Invest team will assess your eligibility and help you to set up your project profile and maximize its impact. Blue Invest Readiness Assistance is an exclusive coaching program for high potential startups and SMEs with innovative and sustainable products and solutions for the blue economy. Businesses and projects selected for assistance will receive coaching packages tailored to their readiness levels, that's technology readiness levels, typically from 6 to 9, and business objectives. The program rather is impact driven with a clear focus on providing business support to help startups and SMEs build capacities for growth and attract investment. The Blue Invest Academy offers capacity building courses, training events, and exclusive webinars, all of which are aimed at accelerating businesses for investment, market access, and international expansion. Examples include seminars on the latest industry developments and trends, sessions with market experts, talks and speed mentoring to help you with your go-to-market approach. The Academy is open to members of the Blue Invest community. Blue Invest awards grants as well to market and investment-ready SMEs, those with innovative products, technologies and services directed at the blue economy. Blue economy calls for proposals are run periodically, and typically once a year in recent times, from November to February. The 2019 call had a budget of 22.5 million, and it closed in February 2020. It received 104 proposals, and of those, 29 SMEs were invited to pitch their proposals to an investor jury. And that resulted in 10 high-profile company projects being retained for funding. The 2020 call had a budget of 20 million, and it closed in February this year, although the results are not yet published. I'm now going to present some of the key figures. There are over 1,000 community members. The 115 companies have completed the readiness assistance segment. Over 50 that have received readiness assistance have now been introduced to interested investors. 14 of those have actually gone on to secure investment, and there is a high satisfaction rate. You'll also see at the bottom of the slide there that you can, on the Blue Invest website, you can access 60 success stories of companies that have gone through the program and have now become investment ready. So on the grant program itself, I want to give you a bit of an overview of how it works. Blue Invest grants aim to bring to market new SME products, services, processes, and business models in blue economy value chains and help them advance their market readiness. They aim to develop a sustainable and innovative blue economy in Europe's sea basins. They aim to de-risk project investment to facilitate access to other financing schemes which enable support for subsequent project activity phases. Eligible activities for funding include, for example, but not limited to, trials, prototyping, validation, demonstration and testing in real or close to real environment conditions, and market replication. Eligible areas for funding include the blue bioeconomy, the cultivation, husbandry, or capture of living material from fresh or salt water, and activities based on the use or processing of this material. Digital transformation of ocean and coastal activities, renewable energy, enabling technologies such as sensors, corrosion or biofouling resistant materials or coating, digitization, electricity transmission equipment, multi-purpose platforms. New products from living or non-living resources that would otherwise be wasted, cleaner shipping, pollution monitoring, cleanup or management, new facilities that support the diversification or energy efficiency of ports, and sustainable tourism, which is designed to achieve a lower carbon footprint, enhance biodiversity, improve resource management, such as water, food and waste, or to make tourist flows more efficient, which could involve more diverse offers or addressing seasonality and safety. Excluded areas are exploration and or extraction of gas and petroleum. And projects are expected to achieve a number of impacts. They are expected to enhance SME profit and growth, generate a measurable and social and environmental impact, contributing to EU policy priorities. For example, the achievement of EU climate neutral and circular economy goals and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. To seize new market and business opportunities both in the EU and beyond. Increase private investment in blue innovation, notably by leveraging private co-investment and or follow-up investments. To demonstrate European added value by contributing to EU growth, creating and maintaining high quality jobs, and where relevant to the EU sea basin strategies. And finally, to help communities and industries hit hard by the coronavirus or the migration of key workers to recover and become more resilient and competitive on a global scale with lower carbon and environmental footprint. And now move on to the final slide here. This is just to give you an idea of the evaluation criteria 25% is focused on the feasibility of the innovation. To what extent is the innovation novel or disruptive, capable of creating a new market or impacting an existing market? 25% is dedicated to the team, so its capability and motivation and its ability to deliver the project and take it to market. And finally, on the commercial strategy and the commercial strategy and exploitation and expected impact. To what extent are the commercial strategy and expected impacts well planned, credible, and likely to be successful? So thank you very much. That's the talk.
Thank you very much, Simon and Cecilia, for your contributions, giving us some inputs and insights about the different blue growth related initiatives and strategies that are ongoing on the European level and supporting companies and startups, which is, as you probably know, the main focus of our project, Protoatlantic. So with this, I'd like to close this block and open a new one, which is related to marine policies and ecosystem itself, where we will have the first presentations. And for that, I'd like to pass on the floor to Jessica from the University College of Cork. So Jessica, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just share my screen here. Let's see. That should work, and I'm just going to start the presentation. It's really exciting to be here, and it's really exciting to come and be able to present at the final conference for Protoatlantic. So my name is Jessica Jane Loomis. I am based at the Science Foundation Ireland Research Centre for Energy, Climate and Marine at the University College Cork here in Ireland. And it's very rainy today, just so you know. So it's really nice to talk about something sunnier and a bit more of what we've done over the last 4 years. So when we started Protoatlantic, our main idea was trying to identify the policies and the idea was to identify the challenges and the barriers, as well as the enablers for marine entrepreneurships and startups, and what they experience both within each of the regions, but also cross-regionally, and trying to understand where the commonalities and where the differences are between our regions and between the Protoatlantic Consortium. So to do that, we found different levels of impact. We first started with trying to understand, we first tried to understand the potential, the blue growth potential for innovation in each of the regions. So for that, we had to identify the soft infrastructures, which means the policy support, and of course, the economic support that entrepreneurs and startups can access of. And then the hard infrastructure, what are some of the testing centers and the capabilities that we have within each regions. From there on, we went on to policy gap analysis. So what we did understand is that you're not able to do a one-size-fits-all solution for blue growth and for supporting all of the entrepreneurs. And that is because the capacities and the capabilities of each region are so diverse that it would somewhat be amiss to use the same strategy across all of the regions. So we needed to identify a county strategy for blue growth, as in going into each region and identify what are the enablers and what are some of the barriers that they are experiencing within each region. So from there on, we went to understand and talk to our startups and try to understand where their ecosystem was and how they used their own ecosystem, how they talked to their own companies, how they interacted with each other, and how they interacted with the support system around them. And then also trying to understand how we can build a dedicated entrepreneurship support program around that to make sure that we're capturing and that we're really putting all our combined efforts into what is needed for the startups to succeed. Now, finally, and this is where we come together today, is we labeled it the Atlantic Marine Innovation Alliance, and that's somewhat of a placeholder, but it's the Protoatlantic Consortium, where we identify future projects to move forward after Protoatlantic concludes. So this is where we talk to each other about shared infrastructure and shared interests for future programs and future projects that we want to invest in all together. So I just want to draw your attention really briefly to this one. You may have seen the Marine Research Infrastructure Database already. Now, I selected the Atlantic area specifically. What this shows you is that each of the Atlantic regions has an infrastructure, hard infrastructure already in place that all the marine startups should be able to avail of. Now, what that also tells us that each of the regions probably has a different capacity and capability. So one of our own needs as within each region is to identify what the capacities and the capabilities are so that we then can complement each other rather than all trying to achieve the same thing within the same industry. It makes more sense to understand where one of the regions, where their capacities are, and then try to complement that. And I think this is also why I chose this ring here. So I know that this presentation of available regional support mechanisms may be a little bit confusing, but what I want to show you is that Las Palmas, and specifically the Spanish region, there's a lot of economic agencies, a lot of marine agencies, policies and marine policies that they have already in place. And they even have a very specific marine pollution policy in place. Similarly, Orkney has hydrogen policy in place. Now, what that tells me when I look at it from the outside is that there is two regions that decided to put their efforts and dedicate their efforts into very different areas. So if I come as a new player, or if I'm interested in developing my own policy or my own marine development within my region, then I need to see where my capacities and capabilities fit in. And I think the ring kind of illustrates that we need to work together and that we're able to help each other if we're able to communicate and collaborate together. So to do that, we held 5 stakeholder workshops across the regions. And what jumps out here immediately is that industry was interested and wanted to be part of these discussions. Now, the workshops were dedicated to 2 main foci area. And the first one was to understand how each region identified their own capacities and capabilities, but then also how they identified blue growth strategies that are within that they wanted to do within their own regions. And some of the high-level findings, and this is across all of the regions, is that there is a need for political will. So if we want to overcome economic barriers, if we want to overcome them, and if we want to build a sustainable development within each region, then we need the political will across the region to actually do that. We also need to build social capacity, and that means that we kind of need to enable our own people that within our own regions to be interested into the ocean space. We want them to come. We want them to be interested in identifying how they can contribute to it. That also means that we need to identify capacities within other sectors that may not be marine related and understand how these non-marine related capacities can be used in a marine domain. One of the most important things, and I think that's where both the Atlantic Action Plan and also Blue Invest are very important, is showcasing the pipeline of opportunities for development and investment. This allows industry to come into the region and to really invest their own efforts into development, because they can see it's not just a one-time thing, but rather that we're trying to build something long-lasting and we're trying to build something sustainable. And that is really what Blue Growth is about building a marine future that we all want, to make sure that we do that sustainably. Now, I already mentioned about the innovation and entrepreneurship. It's important to understand why innovation is so crucial for the development. Now, I know that Jorge alluded to that, but innovation is important not only to develop the technology, but also because it creates job opportunities. So when we have the innovation, when we nurture that, then we are also making sure that we have the jobs and we have the people that have the opportunity to stay in the region and actually have a good job. And lastly, the marine cluster creation to increase competitiveness. Now, I do personally, because this is part of my research, when I hear marine cluster, I always wonder, what is a cluster? Now, the way we identified it through this Protoatlantic program is that a marine cluster is essential to help figure out and deal with specific industry problems. But the ecosystem around it is even more important, because with the cluster and the ecosystem, if they go hand in hand, and if you're able to collaborate across both regions and across the ecosystem and the cluster, you're able to really build something long lasting. So on a European level, it's important to have blue growth strategies for innovation ecosystems. That means that it's not just focusing on one particular sector, but rather on many different sectors, and understand your different capacities within each region and see how they can fit into the innovation ecosystem. It's also about prioritizing competitive advantages on the EU level. I know that we've seen a lot of marine energy popping up here and there. So why not put all of our efforts into trying to figure out how we can do this sustainably, and how we can feed energy back for, for our own zero emission goals and targets, and to combat climate change. And then I already mentioned this earlier, Atlantic Marine Innovation Alliance, as in we need to collaborate across the regions, because we do have the capacities and we do have the capabilities. And once we really put our heads together and we identify where we can collaborate, this is really how we come to the next step and how we're able to sustainably develop the marine spaces. So on a national level, I think it's important to take stock of your national marine-based infrastructures. So both the hard infrastructures and the soft infrastructures. And all of these are ongoing. So it's not just do it once and then you're done. It's really something that you need to do continuously, because our understanding and our knowledge is ongoing, and it grows over time, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to understand where the competitive advantages are, and we can do that once we take stock, like continuously. So with that goes identify research and development gaps to build capacities, and it comes back to social capacities, and also to like physical capacities to really hold, like port development, for example. That is something that we do need really put a lot of effort into. And then design specific accelerator programs. And I think that you will hear a lot more about our own experience, but I think we have shown that this is important because it helps companies to come together and understand that they're not alone. And it also gives them an opportunity to understand how to harness all the information and harness all of the support systems that are in place. On a regional and local level, and this is really my last slide, create a marine-specific cluster. I think this is a starting point. It's not an end to a means, it's really a starting point that we all can support each other, and it's a place for the triple helix, as in academia, government, and industry, to come together and tackle specific projects and specific problems. And I think a cluster can really help that. And once you have a cluster, you can also help the innovation ecosystem around it. So if there's companies that may not necessarily fit into the cluster, they can still benefit from the collaborations of the cluster. And that is why, it's important to think of something marine specific rather than having clusters that are not marine specific. And finally, community outreach and raising awareness. I've been asked a lot, how do you do this? Where do you start? How do you get people interested in the oceans? I always come back to, you need to start early. You need to show them very early, like children, why the ocean is so interesting and why it's important. But I think that we also just need to do a good job about showing why the ocean is an important factor for climate change and why it's an important factor for marine development, and to provide us with a sustainable future. So with this, I'm going to hand over to Moises Santana, who's going to run the discussion panel on opportunities for know-how transfer and in collaboration among regional ecosystems. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for this wonderful job. Nice to see you again, and congrats for all the conclusions and recommendations that you have shared with us. Now with this panel, we want to extend the Protoatlantic network, and we have brought together 3 different stakeholders from 3 different regions. I mean, one is the Canary Islands, of course, the second is Morocco, and the third is Israel. These are different countries in terms of economic development, in terms of technology maturity, even in terms of market size. So we believe that it's quite interesting to know more about what they are doing, what are the constraints that entrepreneurs and researchers are facing in the marine sector, and even more important, how we can extend, how we can open those networks that is the path for researchers, startups to access the resources that they need. So I want to welcome Zakaria Naimi, Director of Green Energy Park in Morocco, Roten Cohen, CEO at the Israeli Coastal and Marine Engineering Research Institute, and Ayose Castro, Head of the Innovation Unit at the Oceanic Platform of the Canary Islands. I want to thank you all for being here and look forward to discussion. I want to start asking you, Ayose, welcome and see you, and nice to see you again, about what are the main comparative advantages that Canary Islands are facing right now, what Procan is doing, and what are your insights about all this?
Thank you very much, Moises, for this kind invitation. First of all, I would like to apologize on behalf of Joaquin Hernandez Brito, our director in Procan, that if he was supposed to be today with all of us for presenting our institution and participating in this wonderful and interesting program. Unfortunately, he is now in La Palma. I'm sure that you are aware of the emergency that had happened with this volcano. And unfortunately, I mean, he couldn't come to this meeting because he's already, providing services to the scientific community there, mostly, deploying our fleets of autonomous vehicles to support other oceanographic institutes to measure the level and monitoring the level of affection of the ocean in the area due to this volcano. So, well, I think that, and I hope that everyone could understand that this emergency, it's also an opportunity, and so he couldn't be in this position. But I hope that I can somehow substitute his experience. So, on regard to your question, Moises, well, the Canary Islands are, of course, really committed to the blue growth economy, and in particular, Procan. It is an infrastructure that was developed and created to try to speed up the process of creating innovation and creating value based on the sustainable exploitation of the ocean. So, but the key word there is that we are an infrastructure. So our idea is not just simply create science, but just to offer the space and the conditions to others to create science due to the fact of access to the ocean, so to facilitating access to the ocean. So, and that has been already mentioned by Jessica as one of the key gaps that needs to be reinforced in Europe. So why we create this infrastructure in the Canary Islands, and why are advantages or competitive advantages for the region? Well, I think it is obvious that we are an archipelago in the middle of the Atlantic. And strategically, we have been developed associated to the ocean. Of course, the typical touristic activities, which is the main and the principal economic model of the Canary Islands, but also because of traditional activities associated to the port, the shipyards, the fisheries, and in the past. But also in the future, we are and based on Procan activities in our universities and research centers, we are promoting emerging economic activities in the Canary Islands, and one of that, it is, of course, offshore aquaculture, but also marine renewable energies. And why? Because the Canary Island has two of the main and optimal resources to be exploited to produce renewable energy based on the ocean. One is wave energy, which is optimal in the north of the islands. The other one is the offshore wind, which is one of the greatest and best European areas to obtain nearly more than 6,000 hours in the year of productive hours of wind. And the other one is, of course, the photovoltaics energy, which, as you know, we are in a subtropical area with a lot of hours of sun, and the ocean give us a wonderful surface to really exploit that energy. So that's our really competitive advantages based on this traditional industry to put together to really create value in the Canary Islands. And to not extend too much my introduction, just to mention that in the past decade, 10 years, we have used our infrastructures to really attract developers to come to our infrastructures to develop their prototypes in this line of activities. So we have been able to develop more than 6 different wave energy prototypes that have been really tested in our marine test site. We are conducting the first prototype of photovoltaics energy directly in open ocean, which is coming from a Norwegian company right now in our marine test site. And also we have been, the first offshore windmill installed in the whole south of Europe have been installed in our marine test site. It's producing energy, which is already sent to the main grid of the island. And we have been also able to test the first 2 prototypes of floating offshore wind substructure also in our marine test site. So we are really active in doing this in Europe, and very proud to share this experience with these 2 regions also, so Israel and Morocco, and of course with the Protoatlantic activity to promote the entrepreneurship and trying to overcome this valley of death, which is crucial to be done in this European economic sector. So I hope that I have given this overall vision of what Procan can do.
Thank you, Jose, and congratulations for the wonderful job that Procan is doing. And it's involving all the Canarian society, I mean, students, companies, researchers, and that's a wonderful work. Zakaria, thanks for being with us, and I give you the floor. I know Morocco is very nascent in the blue economy, and I know that I'm aware that Clean Energy Park is doing a very nice job, I mean, trying to introduce this issue in Morocco. Thanks for being with us.
So thanks a lot, Moses. Hello, everyone. So my name is Zakaria Naimi. I'm coming from Morocco. I wished we hold it actually physically in this event, but unfortunately it's not the right time to do it. So probably we'll have the chance to meet directly in the next coming months. So thank you, Moses, for the introduction. Let me give you an idea before about the Irazen and the Green Energy Park. If I have 1 or 2 minutes, I'll just show you a few slides about what we are doing and how we are actually moving slowly to developing the marine energy as well within the scope of our activities. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Right. So Irazen is the research institute for solar energy and new energies in Morocco. It was created actually in 2011, coming mainly under the umbrella of the Ministry of Energy, Mining and the Environment. And we have 2 missions. The first mission is infrastructure. So we develop and direct in the previous talk how you present actually the infrastructure, and this is exactly what we are doing in other topics, mainly in solar and other renewable energy forms. The second mission is a funding agency. So I won't give you a lot of details about the funding agency, but just to remember that we launch call for proposals on a yearly basis, and we fund research projects in Morocco between universities and industries. We organize as well international funding programs, and one of them is jointly developed with Spain to fund research projects between institutions and companies in the 2 countries. So let's get back to the infrastructures. What we've done in the last years is that we created actually a model for a network of research platforms in Morocco dealing with different topics. And the idea is to cover the whole value chain of renewables based on the needs of Morocco, of course, and offering infrastructures for researchers and universities and companies to access to these labs and infrastructures and develop research projects in the different fields. So the idea is actually to connect universities to industries who are innovation oriented and we are product oriented. Our idea at the end of the day is to solve either an issue or accompany the national strategy in terms of research projects tackling challenges in a way that we can impact actually the local economy. So this is the network of the platforms we've launched or under developments. So currently, 2 of them are already operating, and the other ones are either under construction or under design. And just to mention that we are also open to other African countries, and we developed another platform in Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, and the idea is to connect Central African countries to Morocco through research and innovation. And Ivory Coast is also working on marine energy and blue economy in general, just to keep it on mind. So this is the first platform, and I want to go a lot into details, but it's an 8-hectare platform, given exactly what was
6 minutes left for this session. Rotem, nice to meet you. Welcome. And
hello,
glad to have Israel with us, telling us what you are doing. We know about the level of technology that you've got there. And I don't know what complementarity sits between Morocco Island, the Canary Islands, Morocco, and the rest of our partners. Let's give you the floor.
So thank you very much, and I apologize. I have a sick baby with me, so that's why I'm a little bit disturbed. But it's a very big honor to be with all of you today. And I wanted to say bonjour and bon dia and hola to everyone. I was struggling with the Irish version, so please apologize. And I think that there are actually a lot of things that combine, and I heard many things in the session earlier that was presented that echo what happens now in Israel. So first I want to open with what Zakaria just finished. And thank you very much, Zakaria, because you just finished with what I wanted to open with, which is desalination. And I think that the borders or the definitions of what actually is blue energy is extremely important, because once the definitions are made, it's much easier to address them. So in Israel, for example, when it comes to desalination, I think that we are, I believe, among the leaders in the world in the exploitation of desalination. At the moment, about 70% of potable water in Israel comes from the sea. And the necessity is mother of all invention, as we learned from the Greek. So we definitely needed to develop water technologies, and that's why we became a leader in this field. However, we also discuss, when we talk about marine energy, about let's say wave sources or offshore sources of energy. I'm managing of CAMERI, the Israeli Coastal and Marine Energy Engineering Research Institute, and we are equally held, we're a private company equally held by the Technion, the leading technological university in Israel, and the Israeli Ports Company. So we are blending our academic knowledge with actual industry know-how, and what one of the Jessica mentioned about the importance of political goodwill and how important it is in order to nurture innovation is, I could not agree more. So in Israel, as maybe you know, it's a startup nation, and there's a lot of governmental encouragement to build this ecosystem that encourages innovation, which later on provides also the incentives and the financial requirements that are so important for the entrepreneurs to build their first steps. So in our institute, as you can see in the background, we have our relatively modest facilities where we are doing our testings. And I can tell you that it's a very important stage on our way to later on help our clients, the startups, when they are trying to get their grants or trying to exploit and move forward to the market stage. So I will definitely contact those of you who are interested to build partnerships, because we already showed during the 2021, we have conducted several energy-oriented projects with generating energy through waves. As I mentioned earlier, also desalination is a very important, let's say, business aspect in what we do in Israel. So we also built ourselves a very strong know-how also on the, let's say, environmental impact of desalination. And I believe that we are running out of time. So I just want to thank you again for inviting me, and all the best. And I hope to be in touch with all of you later on.
Thank you, Rotem. Jorge, I don't know if we've got 1 more minute only for a final word from somebody, of any of you who want to add something.
Yes, just briefly from each of the three. Just take 3, 4, 5 minutes at most, please.
No more. Thank you. Ayose, Zakaria.
Yes. Well, I I like to add that, of course, wave energy initially was thought to produce initially electricity. As you know, many of the models on the prototype were focused on producing electricity. And we have noticed in the 5-6 past years that the reutilization of the energy produced by those prototypes dedicated to desalination process are being a very competitive advantages. And we are proud to say that at our infrastructures in Plocan, we have already tested 2 different prototypes that use the wave energy to produce the salty water. So one of them are focused mostly on pumping water, very low cost prototypes, and other are even doing the process of desalination within the prototype. And one of them is already under test in our marine test site, and we are in conversations to bring another Norwegian company to our marine test site to produce desalination on the marine test site as a prototype. And so we have certain experience on the real fact of bringing these technologies and putting on the ocean, on the real environment, which is crucial. And we will be more than happy to share this experience with all of you, with Morocco's and with you, Rotem, in Israel, because as you know, also the Canary Islands are facing strong problems with fresh water. So we have been, as you mentioned, we have been using our imagination and technologies in order to produce that fresh water, mostly for the eastern islands, like for instance, Lanzarote needs 100% of the water coming from the sea. So we can share knowledge, we can share technologies and experience on these infrastructures for developing further these type of innovative technologies. And we'll be happy to also share that with you, Zacharias, in terms of, provide inputs to that business plan that you are probably creating for that new center that you plan to create in Morocco. So I think we have strong synergies to work together.
Thank you. I don't know, Zacharias, if you want to have a final comment, 1 minute only, because we are.
Right. I would like to thank Jose for the suggestion, and I'll be more than happy to collaborate on this topic. So historically, Morocco is actually a country of ocean merchants. So historically, we know the ocean, and we were actually oriented towards the blue economy. So we shared with you the same challenges. We have the same objectives and intentions. I believe that we can actually set up and lay down the foundation of a very interesting cooperation around the blue economy, especially when it comes to the nexus of water and energy. I think that we have many possibilities of collaboration. So thanks again for the invitation, and looking forward to start working together.
Thank you. I mean, problems are very complex, so we need collaborations, and this is an example of that. We didn't have more time for discussion, but hopefully we will have also Zachariah in a few days in the Canary Islands to further discussions and to personally know Plocan. I want to thank all the Protoatlantic network, and this is an extension of the Protoatlantic network. This is about international networks, it's about the access of knowledge, different resources, different countries, and opportunities also. So thank you again, Roten, Jose, Zachariah, and I give you the floor, Jorge. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you very much, Moises, Roten, Jose, and Zachariah, for this really fruitful discussion we have had, and of course, Jessica, for the previous presentation about the marine policies, which is a key topic we've been working on during the Protoatlantic project. So with this, I'd like to close this second block of the conference today and open the third one, which is dedicated to how we kind of modeled the process we've been following during these last 4 years in order to support different startups we've been working with around different topics. It's called the process modeling block, and for that, I will do a presentation. I will share it right now. So I hope you can all see it clearly. So, as I said, we're going to present the main differential aspects and added value associated to the Protoatlantic methodology we have created in these last years, which was designed and applied during the project execution. It's a kind of modeling of the whole process implemented with the startups we've been supporting during the last years, as I said. As a structure, this method designed pursued to be different and innovative enough compared to any other existing startup supporting programs at the moment, at least at an European level, and always adapted to the needs and particularities, and this is why benefiting from a high specialization in the marine sector. From the initial research carried out, some conclusions stated that there is no specific method present to validate entrepreneurship projects related with blue growth itself. In fact, we can say that there is a large gap between the amount of research and technological development projects in existence and the number of startups that eventually normally emerge out of the blue growth strategies. So in Protoatlantic, we want to step into a real level up with a method that takes into consideration and application, among others, many of the factors currently distinguishing an accelerator and startups supporting programs, such as, among others, the quality of the partners involved in the program, the time spent on program activities under the philosophy, which is less is more, the quality, of course, of participants itself, better focusing on the quality than quantity rather than quantity, the evaluating factors that led us to select those participants, the networking itself, since the programs need to focus more on building entrepreneurial networks and less on delivering content itself, and of course, the quality of experts and mentors involved in the whole programs and activities that we put in place. In addition, from the very beginning, the method proposed in the project is also taking into account principles of open innovation 2.0 by establishing tools that allow all the stakeholders in the marine ecosystem to participate in processes for crowdsourcing and collaborative co-creation as much as possible, of course. And this is also in line with the Protoatlantic vision for rapid adoption of technology and transition from innovation to market. Finally, in coming back to the issue that we mentioned this morning of the high cost normally associated for prototyping and testing activities in the marine domain, the project decided to narrow down its actions and specialized support to 3 well-defined and emerging sectors with a high potential of growth, which were renewable energy, marine robotics, and blue biotechnologies. But as the project work progressed, we realized that the 2 former were the marine sectors with a higher number of startups requiring the type of assistance that we were able to offer in our projects in Protoatlantic. So, based on the 6 key activity domains driving the services offered in the project, exposed in the bulk figure you have on your left-hand side, the methodology that models the whole process followed during the duration relies on 4 different but interconnected phases, which are related to training, mentorship, prototyping and testing, and finally investment opportunities. In parallel, the work implemented over those 4 phases is continuously reinforced and complemented with the progress over other framework elements. Those are related to existing marine policies, supporting entrepreneurship and innovation, as well as the continuous strengthening of the marine ecosystem through community building actions. At this point, we consider that the Protoatlantic program is based in the methodology defined is offering the first European program, business and technically supporting startups focused on blue growth, which really develops an ecosystem for prototyping projects from pre-seed to startup. And together with this, the pool of mentors and experts selected made the Protoatlantic program different from the rest of existing accelerators in Europe. Besides, one of the main goals of the project was to create a method that might be straightforward, replicable in any other region and marine ecosystem beyond the ones directly taking part in the project. And this is part of how we will try to move into a new capitalization stage from now on. So, dipping into each of those phases a little bit briefly, because we don't have much time for that. The first phase was dedicated to the bootcamp, okay, bootcamp phase, we called it. And I'd like to present briefly some of the main added values and differential aspects as we considered them when we first designed this phase. We were able to put in place a multi-site, this is based in different regions participating in the project, initial workshops where we initially selected our first startups. They start working on refining on their different business models. And then we jumped into a more intensive and joint bootcamp phase, where we were able to put together in the same room to all those European startups we started to support in order to go through a process where they were going to be trained in different key topics in the marine domain. There we applied different kind of methodologies, some of them really based on lean methods, where we were able to support all those startups because they were kind of proposing different experiments that permitted them to validate different hypotheses which were at that moment supporting their business model. And we did that together with different partnership methodologies that permitted and allowed them to start working on key aspects such as the partnership they needed to make in order to get in better conditions to their final markets. We counted on international high-level experts selected on precise topics. We had the opportunity to count on them, and not only based on their expertise, because normally they were either mentors on high-level acceleration programs in different regions of Europe, and not only that, but also they were normally persons which had an important background and experience, because they sometime in the past they launched their own startups within the marine domain. And finally, we followed a networking focus and approach in order to identify synergies not only between all the staff participating together in those bootcamp phase and different workshops, but also trying to raise new synergies with the different mentors that we brought together to be with those startups in the same rooms. Then we had the second phase, which was dedicated to mentorship, okay? And the main added value and differential aspects were that we were able to run a completely remote mentorship monitoring and follow-up process, and trying to put together and to take good benefits of all the resources we were able to bring into this kind of service. Then we counted on international high-level experts, where we did a precise matching among them and the different needs and real gaps coming up from different startups participating in this phase in order to match them properly and accordingly with the mentors' expertise, whatever field they were focused on. Those mentors were coaching those different startups not only in order to refine those business models and trying to improve and strengthen them in order to get closer to the market conditions, but also providing them access to funding and investment opportunities and preparing that for pitching in front of investors, which is something that will occur tomorrow, as we'll see now. And we followed for that a narrow down selection process where we try to narrow down that selection of the startups previously participating in the bootcamp phase in order to get good benefits of the more advanced, let's say, ones out of this mentorship phase with the high-level mentors that we were able to catch up. Then we have the prototyping and testing phase, where we had the opportunity to have a straightforward access to multi-site marine high-level infrastructures in the Atlantic area of Europe. We were talking about high-level centers like Instec in Oporto, IMEC in the north of Scotland, and the Moray Centre associated to the University College of Cork in Ireland. Okay. And this is something that normally startups don't have direct access to, or in case they do, it's under a real expensive and complicated condition. So this is really a high-level aspect that we were able to offer during our prototyping and testing phase in Protoatlantic. Those, as I said, as I mentioned, those high-level centers were able to offer good expertise, mainly in marine renewable energies and robotic technologies. In order to select the startups being able to get to those high-level infrastructure and being able to prototype and test their technologies and final products and prototypes, we selected them under a really narrowing down multi-criteria process, where we put in value not only their TRL, but also some other aspects like their suitability to take benefit of those expertise and infrastructure, their innovation associated to their technologies and products, and some other aspects. And of course, they were able, through that kind of process, they were able to get to a verification issuing process where those centers could kind of certify the technologies they were supporting in terms of prototyping and testing stages. And finally, the access to investment opportunities in the form of a demo day will be launching tomorrow as a closed and private event. It permitted us to have a multi-regional joint demo day, because it will be completely held online, okay, where different regions will be participating, not only providing the startups itself that will be pitching in front of the investors, but different international investors located in all those different regions. We are able there also to separate and to create different rooms or sessions based on the marine sectors those startups work for, or even the TRL they are offering. And we are also able to put together a diversity of investment opportunities in the form of different kind of investors, whatever they are working on. And with this, I mean, we'll have capital venture, with investors more focused on being able to provide higher amounts of money in order to decrease the risk of some of those startups. We'll also have business angels providing not only capital, but also their own expertise, knowledge, of course, which is also always important, access to important network of contacts, and of course, equity crowdfunding. And finally, we will be following a methodology where not only the startups will be making a direct pitch for the investors, but the investor will also have the opportunity to do kind of a reverse pitch in order to present themselves and better match what are the real interest and with the needs of the startups that we'll have in that room pitching from them. Thank you very much. Now I will stop sharing my presentation. And with this, I'm closing this block of the conference dedicated to the modeling of the process we have again followed during our the duration and execution of the Protoatlantic project. And I have now the opportunity to open the new block which is dedicated to business and acceleration, okay, kind of business support we've been providing to different startups supported during the project duration. And with this, I'd like to pass on the floor to Héctor Martínez from Emerge.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here and to be part of this final conference with all of you. I'm also very happy to have here Zakaria from Morocco, because I have to say that the idea of this project was born in Morocco in a trip with Jorge. So I'm very happy to have the company of Morocco in this final conference. Well, just to jump into the mood, I am Héctor Martínez. I'm the project manager of Emerge, the Canary Association of Startups, Technology-Based Company, and Angel Investors. And in Emerge, we led the acceleration program and the business support activities of the project. So we were very happy to work very close with the companies and to help them to improve and to go further in the business model and in their projects. In this section, I will try to focus only on the results, as Jorge explained the whole methodology, and then I will let speak the companies that benefited from the project and that kindly accepted to come here today. Well, the problem, as we were explained, is as we have explained earlier, is that the marine sector, the companies in the marine sector are very intensive in knowledge in hardware, so they need access to resources. And with that project, what we tried was to provide the resources to that companies. So why an acceleration program? We decided to put in place an acceleration program divided into 3 phases to give 3 kinds of resources. In the bootcamp, we try to give access to the knowledge. With the mentoring, we provided access to the experts. And with the demo day that will happen tomorrow, we will try to give them access to the funds to put in place their projects. So as we said, this program was part of a whole in coordination with the rest of the project partners. And who were the beneficiaries of our support? Well, we were looking for talent and ideas. So we went to the places where we thought we would find the ideas and the projects. So we went to the universities, we went to the research centers, and to the industry. And what were the results of the bootcamp? Well, during all the sessions, we accompanied 143 startups, attendees from 113 startups. And in the joint bootcamp in Las Palmas, we had 14 companies here. And the mentoring was, we know that the support of other successful entrepreneurs is crucial for the new projects and ideas. And that's why we counted on successful international mentors and experts. And that's why in this session, we will have the occasion to listen to one of the project mentors, Oscar Villanueva, who will speak later. And we counted with more than 20 mentors that supported 43 startups. And as we mentioned before, startups need not only mentors, they also need economic resources and networking. And that's why we selected 10 startups that will pitch tomorrow in front of a group of investors and venture capital specialists and business angels. We have 10 startups and 10 investors. Well, and I wanted to focus my presentation on the conclusions and the lessons learned of this program, because it was it was a long way, and we learned a lot from the companies, from other partners and stakeholders. So I wanted to gather this information and put it in this slide. So the first conclusion is that the marine sector is more intensive in technology, so it needs more resources than other sectors, and that's why public and private support are so important in that sector. Companies need mentorship and support, but they also need funds and access to early adopters. That's very important. It's nice to have a company, to have a good idea, but you need access not only to the funds, but to the early adopters, which could be the first clients and the first customers. A startup needs customers, clients, and benefits. But the good point is that we have a lot of talent and a lot of ideas in the Atlantic area. It was a great surprise to know that we have all that talent in the Atlantic area. So that talent means that there are a lot of opportunities if we manage to support these ideas. And that's a priority for all of us. And we detected also that we have the same problems in all the regions, and the startups face the same problems. And we can try to give them the solutions to working together in a network, as Jessica explained earlier. And with that, I would like to give the word to the companies that have benefited from the program, to know their experience and to know how we can continue helping them. So I am pleased to introduce two companies that have benefited from the project activities. All the effort and care we put in it would be meaningless if it were not for the participation of these companies. So I have Ronan Carey, from Director of ARC Asset Solutions, who participated in the bootcamp and the mentoring sessions, and Dario Sosa, CEO of Subsea Mechatronics, who tested in Portugal with Inestec, and who will participate tomorrow in the demo day. So Ronan, please let us know how was your experience during the project, and share your experience with us.
Thank you, Hector. Hello, everyone, and good morning. For me and for our company, AirQ Asset Solutions, a background, I suppose, first. Our background is we look at the oil in the machine, and we use the oil machine like the blood in the body, and we monitor the condition of the oil to see how healthy the machine is, and then be able to calculate from the quality of the oil in the machine when it is going to fail, or if it is going to fail. So our participation in the Protoatlantic was to take our sensor board that we've developed and try and see if we can fit that onto something in the offshore industry, such as an offshore wind turbine. So we pitched in Ireland in order to get a place on the Protoatlantic boot camp in Las Palmas. We did a pitch competition in UCC, which some of the organizers were Val Cummins, Jessica and Sarah and Lawrence Dooley. And we pitched in that. We got through to a place on the in Las Palmas. We found the boot camp in Las Palmas to be very good. We all do the business model canvas, but when you go back into another boot camp, it's good to see that as you progress, the company progresses and things, and your thinking on your financials also need to be adjusted. So we found that really good. The topics that we discussed in the or covered during the boot camp would have been the likes of branding and marketing, how we can make our product stand out more, what channels to market we need to look at, and the economics and the financials. If you're going for investments, you need to have a good solid grounding on your financials, know what your projection is going to be, know what your operating costs are going to be, what your margin you want to be in order to be profitable. So it's good to revisit that and look at how we need to improve ourselves further. Lean management was good as well, where that was kind of like prototyping, rapid prototyping, I suppose preparing to fail. If you're going to fail early and learn from that and move on to your next prototype for your product, and keep on developing till you get to a successful product that will be seen as investable by investors, and also more importantly to be of use by the end user. And then partnerships and leadership was about looking for who you want to partnership if you want to grow a company, and who's best suited to do that with you. And then at the end, we had Liam Fitzgerald do pitch to investors, which was a workshop on how to refine your pitch deck, how to do your presentation and do it smoothly so that it comes across very professional. So for us, the 5 days in Las Palmas, that bootcamp was very good. And then the mentoring session that came after that as well was a benefit. We had Miles Heward and Elaine Buck from the European Maritime Energy Centre in Scotland. They were our mentors, and we found them to have great advice for us, great access to people in our catapult in the UK. And the plan originally was that we would test our module and our oil sensors on an offshore wind turbine up in Scotland as part of the OR Catapult campus. Unfortunately, COVID came, and that's scuppered our plans. So we had to look internally in Ireland. So what we did manage to do for the last number of months is we've been testing our equipment on a gearbox, not a turbine gearbox for offshore wind, but on a gearbox for a cooling tower and pharmaceutical plant. It's a gearbox, it's pushing a large fan, and it's in a very damp environment. So although it's onshore, it's quite a close test bed for us to be able to use. And for the last 9 months that's been operating, and it's actually taken us an awful lot further. We're now at a stage where we're probably going to clean out the software from all the updates we did while working with the customer. And now we're going to clean out the software and try and make it smoother. And that's the next stage where we're at now. So if it hadn't been for Las Palmas and open our eyes to what's available, what other offshore industries are there. I should have said earlier, our background, myself, my colleague, we were in the Irish Navy for 46 years between us. So we were used to serving on ships. We hadn't seen the wind turbines in close detail or other industries. And then sharing that knowledge that was in the group of entrepreneurs in the room was great to get other insights as well. So I suppose in a nutshell, briefly, that is the benefit that we got from Protoatlantic, the boot camp, from everyone who has helped us. There's so many names, I can't thank everyone. So if I've left people's names, that I do apologize. But we've had a great time participating in it, and it has benefited us. Although COVID has put the brakes on us being able to go abroad and test our equipment at sea, we have been able to use our other customers, because we also work with the pharmaceutical industry, and be able to mock as close as possible to a damp environment using a gearbox as a test case, and see where we go from there.
Oh, great, Ronan. Thanks a lot. You have been great, and I thank you a lot for being part of the project. Protoatlantic would mean nothing without your experience and the one from Dario. So please, Dario, if you can share with us your experience. I know you have participated in all the process of the project, so please share with us your experience.
Thank you very much, Hector. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jorge, and all the Protoatlantic project. Yeah, it has been a long journey, as Ronan said, 3 years, I guess. So one important thing to mention is that being a startup, so we also have pivot during these 3 years. So it's good that the project has adapted to our needs in that sense. So at the beginning, in the bootcamp, we started with the project that it was our main project at that moment. It was marine robotics for dredging. During the conversations with the market, let's say, end users, and thanks to the help of Protoatlantic, after 1 year or so, we understood that let's say the market was not ready for that solution. No, it's in any case, dredging with robots for the last mile of the big companies or industries like Banor or the big 4 dredgers in Europe. So they are not doing it. It's interesting for them, but we are not dredgers, so we will not do it unless they go with us. So after that, we let's say pivot to pipe inspection. So this is where we are focused now. Our company develops technology, and we develop marine robots for third parties. But in our case, our, let's say, core project now is that one, to inspect pipes from inside. for this, we have developed the Pi range of ROVs, and basically going with batteries on board with very long, thin tether, up to 3 kilometers of fiber optics, so we can indeed do these pipe inspections. We are now in the piloting phase, and all this experience we have carried or taken from the program with very interesting mentors. The bootcamp, of course, was very interesting. And then the mentors from Israel, in our case, it gives not only the insight of the market, but an overview of the specific environment, in that case of Israel, which of course it's something to look at how they do things. Yes, yeah, from there, and thanks to the Protoatlantic program, we have been able to jump and do other programs, no? Like in our case was that the Port Excel in Rotterdam, more specific to that, the dredging project that I was mentioning. And I want to make a note, emphasis in what both Hector and Jorge mentioned, that is very important. Most of the acceleration programs, as I see in the world, the mentoring and coaching, this is standard, of course, everybody does it. But the difficult thing here, and in the sectors that Protoatlantic is centered, which are marine robotics, the marine renewables, and also biotech. So if we see, some of them, they could have some software projects, okay? But mainly the program has had a lot of hardware projects, and there is a gap in the world that I think Protoatlantic is in this way, in this path, that of course is very interesting to go along. I mean, it's, as we were saying before, it's more risky, it's more time consuming, and it has more costs to help the startups that do hardware. That's clear. And because of that, most of the acceleration programs, they center in software solutions because it's much easier. And they also are centered or centering themselves in the scale up. They even still call startups, okay, but they are more just matching the corporates that they have with the scale ups, which is needed and it's very important. But I think Protoatlantic is covering a gap, a very interesting gap, that I would like that Protoatlantic continues some way to exploit this gap. No, so hardware and prototyping is more difficult, and it's something that we have had access to. In our case, we had access to INESC for the testing of our subsystems, let's say, the cameras and the lighting of our robots, with very good results. Having access to this very high-tech university and lab is very important for us to have their feedback and to have a direct contact. Of course, I guess it could have been the same for the marine renewables companies that had access to centers like, or bank tests like IMEC, no? So yeah, I would say it has been very interesting, and we hope there is a way to go yet farther beyond the project. Thank you very much. Same as Ronan, there are many names we'd like to thank. So thanks everybody.
Thanks a lot, Dario, for your insight. It's very important, and Ronan and Dario, to have your point of view, because we want to continue supporting companies like yours and help you to grow and to scale up. So that's our goal. So thanks a lot.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. And now I will give the floor to Oscar Villanueva, who is an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, I would say, even, and he was a mentor in Protoatlantic. So thank you, Oscar, for being here, and please.
Thank you, Hector. So I'm going to share my screen. From the very beginning, thank you for the opportunity to stay with you as a mentor, as a mentee, as a startup, as an investor. I don't know, but in so many ways, thank you to be a part of the Protoatlantic family. I'm going to share my screen, so I'm going to be quite straightforward. I'm sorry, because this is the last slide. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. So as Hector said, we launched a venture on energy, on the energy space, on the ocean energy space. It's called Arrecife Energy Systems. And I'm going to tell you the reality of an entrepreneur on this space and the reality on that. So I think most of the topics are covered by the other profiles, because I mean, it's kind of specific problems on the hardware companies to launch ventures into the market. So starting from the idea to prototype. I mean, I'm going to talk from my experience on Arrecife. So our solution was inspired by the nature. One of the shareholders, Jose Javier Doria, which is a PhD professor.
Oscar, sorry
Yep.
for interrupting you. I think you are not sharing your PPT.
No.
No, not at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
okay.
not. Yeah. Okay. So
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Tell me if you are seeing my screen.
Yes, now it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So from idea to prototype. So the idea of Arrecife was born from the nature, observing the nature, and also the knowing on fluid dynamics. So it's based on a on the space of the physics, and this is the starting point of the company. We observed as the natural reefs are harnessing the power of waves, so we focus on that to design a device that almost do the same, but in the surface. So that's the starting point of the company. So then you have to demonstrate the tech. Okay, so we start as almost every company in the space, so doing lab testing. We raise public funding, at least here. So the company is based, in Bilbao, in Spain, and in the EU. So we have been granted. So we start the company, and we start to testing in lab the tech. Then you have to jump into the sea. So that's the main point. And we did into a 1/10 scale, as you can see. This is a video demonstration, but it's not working. How it works with the 1/10 scale prototype into the open ocean. Anyway, to summarize this space of time when you are a beginner. So my main experience is kind of, okay, you do the R&D, you have to do the prototyping and testing. You have to apply for public grants to start doing this, because a hardware startup, it's very intensive in funding at the very beginning. So it's not enough with the 3 Fs: founders, family and friends, or fools savings. So you need more funding. So you have to apply for public grants. Otherwise, you are not gonna start in some way. Then there is another interesting thing, which is very different comparing to what you mentioned regarding software or other kind of startup companies. So you have a very relevant tech on site, and it's hardware. So you have to patent the tech because it's going to be the main value of the company. So these are my main points from the very beginning, from the idea to the prototyping. Then when you are testing the technology, so you have to demonstrate the technology to the world some way. But at the same time, you have to realize if there is a demand outside of your company. I mean, if the market needs your technology in some way, that's the toughest thing, I think, for a hardware startup, which normally is based by tech profiles like engineers, and they are focused on the tech, but not into the market. This is a very tricky question on this space. Anyway, so we design a product from the prototype. You know, it's kind of okay. You have to do an exercise of talking with the potential customers or talking with the markets or looking into the market for the needs, and then starting doing something related to that is in and this is very interesting because maybe it's not equal to your prototyping technology. So you have to match those things. Otherwise, you are not going to launch into the market. And we are talking on technologies that the time to market, it's very, very long. So during this period, you have to apply for other public grants because private funding is not available till the market is not demanding your solution or paying for your solution. Private funding, it's very complicated to achieve. So you have to base your funding strategy into applying for public grants, public programs, acceleration programs, like Protoatlantic or something like that. But then there is another interesting thing. You are not you have not to go alone on this way to the market because you are not gonna do anything. So you have to find the right partners for this long time to market, partners that allow you to be capable to build hardware technology, and there is now a lot of people doing this in the world. I mean, there is people on the oil space, there is people on the renewable space, but this talking on ocean energy, everything is very new. The technology is always very new. Everything is different. There is no unique technology. You know, it's kind of difficult to find the right partners. So in our case, we have to find partners in Europe, in Spain, and then in the US, where we were for a while during 2017. In order to achieve our goal of building a bigger prototyping and testing into open ocean. So this is a very important thing. So the first thing, public funding. Second thing, partners, the right partners. Then you have a bigger device. You have to demonstrate another time that it's working, that has the capacity that you are talking to everybody. So always demonstrating the tech, and it takes time. It takes time to build big devices. It takes money, so it's tough. It's a tough way, but it's achievable. So these are some pics on the Arrecife device, which is a 14-meter length and 10 tons device to demonstrate in open ocean 2 years ago. And it's very tough because this is new technology. So it's not comparable to other devices. So it's very new. So and bad things happen on new things because it's the innovation process. But you have to take care on that because you need the funding to do that. So it's very tough. Anyway, so we did the trials in open ocean, but then we have some different wave conditions, real conditions. And then to summarize this period of time when your prototype is close to be a final prototype, or the scale it's 1-3 and into working conditions into the ocean. So then you have to have in some way traction, no? So you have to apply always for the grants all the time, but then you have to accelerate the project and have some advisors on the space. To be recognized, you have to stay on the stage. So and we did it. But another time it's very tough to stay there. There is a lot of competition. There is a lot of good companies on the space. I mean, it's not full, but there are a lot. Sorry. Fundraising always. You have to go forward onto the TRL because otherwise your project is going to be like a zombie project. So you have to always go forward on that. You always have to fundraise. And you have to find the key team, not only the partners, but the team. People commit with the project is very, very relevant. Not only tech profiles, but business profiles as well. And then you are very close to launching to the market. So, and you have to try to do as soon as possible. But then you realize that the market is not as easy as we think, because regarding the space of energy generation, as you probably know, there are a few companies that are very big companies, very large companies into the space, and there it's very tough to sell this kind of technology to these companies. So, but you have to go to the market, and then you have to choose if your technology is capable to stay in utility generation, or maybe go to smaller customers, just remote distributed grids. So, and we did both ways into the market. So we started trying to go to the biggest market, to the that utility generation, but then we realized that it's a very tough market, and you need a lot of funding there. And then we started doing smaller devices, in a B2C model. So we change from a B2B model selling electricity or selling equipments to large energy utilities to selling smaller products for rivers, lakes, and so on. So it's a very interesting approach on when and how you have to pivot your business modeling just to survive. And
sorry,
so,
Oscar, we have to
I'm out of time.
be sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. This is the
Thank you.
last slide. So my main challenge I face into this kind of project are these that I'm showing you. So business from the beginning, not only tech. The lab demonstration of the tech, you have to do as Ron says, as fast and as cheap as you can. Public funding, it's a key to launch this kind of business into the market. There is a clear funding gap. So there's no VCs in the space, and there are not expected to be because of the large time to market. But it's tough also the public funding. So, and because of past fails on this space, such as Pelamis and so on. But then you have to advance on a technology readiness level. You have to find the right people to the team and the right partners, and then maybe pivot your business modeling. So thank you very much, and you have my contact details if you want. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Oscar, Hector, Dario, and Ronan as participants of this business acceleration block. We now jump directly to the next one, which is the last one for our conference today, and it's dedicated to the infrastructure and related resources block, which is really key part of our project in regards of the support we have been providing to different startups around the Atlantic area concerning not only prototype, but also testing in land and marine conditions. And for that, I'd like to pass on the floor to our next speaker, which is Paula Lima from Inestec. So Paula, floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, good morning to you all. I hope you can hear me well. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm Paula Lima. I'm a project manager at Inestec, and I'm going to present the results for the prototyping and testing phase. Sorry. Okay, so prototyping and testing was done mainly by 3 partners, EMEC, Inestec, and Lear. EMEC is the world's only multi-berth, purpose-built open sea test facilities for wave and tidal energy converters. Lear, the National Ocean Test Facility, is a custom-designed test facility for laboratory testing of offshore wind, wave and tidal energy devices. And Inestec was represented by the Center for Robotics and Autonomous Systems, which conducts research and development activities in autonomous robotic systems, mobile robotics and mobile multi-robot systems for inspection, monitoring and mapping with application in security, power systems, environment, aquaculture, oceanography, marine biology, resource extraction, among others. So, we supported a total of 9 startups in Work Package 6 through prototyping and testing. A Silva Matos is a Portuguese company which wanted to test an autonomous lander, and Inestec supported it through prototyping an underwater thruster and evaluating different types of propellers, also with tests in our tanks and at sea. Exceedance wanted to test Gator, and the three partners supported it. IMEC through by testing the Gator, Lear by testing the control system, and INESC with pressure tests that are still going, and testing the control system, the communication system. Fazini Meccanica wanted to test a wave energy converter and did some tests in the tank at Lear. Impact 9 was supported by Lear and INESC through tank testing and also consultation and some prototyping that is still going on. Oceamic wanted to test a self-deploying water sampler and was supported by IMEC and INESC through testing and consultancy. Pure Marine wanted to test a wave energy converter and was supported by Lear through tank testing. Swell also did some tank testing at Lear. And Subsea Mechatronics, as you already heard, did some pressure tests of their cameras and lights at INESC. So the major bottlenecks that we encountered was obviously due to COVID-19 because, as you are aware, there were some restrictions in traveling, and it was impossible to go and visit our partners and to see testing at their facilities, and also through this adapt the test that would be done in our labs, and also even the employees or from the startups couldn't be present in testing, as it was the case at INESC for Subsea, that they had to ship the components so that we could test it. And also everything was delayed, even the delivery of materials. And there was another problem that some startups, they needed a lot of time to test their prototypes, and we couldn't manage to do that because there was some limited time, so they had to drop off the project. For the next projects, hopefully that this will continue. It's important to have an early identification of risks so that we can implement the mitigation and acceleration measures. We need to improve the communication with the startups and encourage their involvement, and obviously always have a backup plan so that we can easily get on track again. But overall, it was a success, this phase of the project and all the project, and I hope we can continue. So I'm going to pass the floor to Eduardo Silva, that will be the moderator of the discussion panel, Access to Infrastructures and Expertise in the Atlantic. Thanks.
Hi all.
I'm trying to unshare my screen.
Beautiful. Okay. Good morning, all, and today we have a small roundtable to discuss some issues or some topics about infrastructures. Unfortunately, in our roundtable, we lose one participant. Jeremy have a shoulder injury yesterday or in Sunday or Saturday, and it's not possible to be with us. But with us, we have Liam Fitzgerald from Murray Center, from Ireland, and Liam they have a very good experience in the developments and in the marine and maritime systems and technology, and support a lot of experience in support some startups. And also we have the Danish. Dennis is an oceanographer from EMEC. Sorry? Can you listen to me?
Yes, Eduardo, we can listen to you. The point is that, are you sharing a presentation or something like that, or not?
No.
No, just speaking.
Moderation.
Okay,
yes, so
that's right. That's right.
I asked Liam and Danish go to share one slide about the organization.
Okay, no problem. We'll do that.
Please, Liam and I suppose Liam and Danish are with us.
Hi, Eduardo, and hello, everybody. Danish, would you like to go first, or should I go first?
Go ahead, be my guest.
So do you want me to share my screen here, Eduardo?
Yes, please. Present your organization.
Hopefully my screen is sharing.
It's sharing. You can present without, okay.
Okay, so thank you, Eduardo, in the first instance, and thank you to Jorge and Paula and Jessica and everybody who's been involved in the Protoatlantic program over the last while. Eduardo gave me 3 minutes to present myself, so I'm going to take 3 minutes only. So my name is Liam Fitzgerald. I'm the National Marine Incubation Manager for Ireland. I work in University College Cork, and I'm funded by Enterprise Ireland, which is the government organisation in Ireland tasked with supporting exports and creating jobs. This segment is about access to infrastructures and expertise in the Atlantic area. And in the context of Ireland, I think it's worth looking at this across 3 broad areas. So firstly, we have the test infrastructure that has been referenced maybe already by some of the previous speakers, and you'll see on my screen a picture of Ireland in the middle. Number 1 on the bottom down in Cork, where I sit in the Marai Centre, we are co-located with the Lear National Ocean Test Facility, which is a world-class facility for tank testing, electrical testing, and numerical modeling. And that's where typically people with ocean energy devices and other devices come to prototype testing. From there, we move on to number 2, which is Smart Bay in Galway Bay, which is an offshore test facility suitable for ocean energy devices at TRL 4 to 6. And then finally, up number 3 is off the coast of County Mayo. It's the Atlantic Marine Energy Test Site, AMETS, and that is a full-scale ocean test site. So that's really the core test infrastructure we have in an Irish context. Secondly, in terms of infrastructure, we have a marine and maritime support infrastructure, which I think works very effectively and collaboratively in Ireland. The work that I do as National Marine Incubation Manager really is around supporting early stage startups to launch, grow, and scale. We have a number of cluster network type organizations. For example, we have the Marine Ireland Industry Network, which is a network of nearly 400 marine and maritime related businesses. And we have the Gale Offshore Network, which is a network focused on the offshore wind opportunity. And we have the Killybegs Marine Cluster, is a cluster up in the north of Ireland, up in Donegal. And we have the Southwest Bioeconomy Cluster, for example, which is a cluster that is in the down the south of the country. In terms of research and innovation, I sit in the Marai Centre. The Marai Centre is the national centre for blue economy, climate and energy research and innovation. We have over 220 researchers across 13 13 institutional partners. All of the universities in Ireland are part of the MARI consortium. We also have the Marine Institute, for example. We have Bord Iascaigh Mhara, who are another government funded organisation, and others. So marine and maritime infrastructure is very good. And finally, then we have a broader business support infrastructure provided by Enterprise Ireland. As I mentioned, Enterprise Ireland is the largest seed level investor in Europe in early stage startups, and the second largest in the world. So it's great to have that resource here in Ireland to provide business support across funding, soft support, and so on to various startup businesses. So this hopefully gives it a quick idea of the infrastructure and expertise available in Ireland.
Please, Dernish, can you jump and share you? Liam, you need to share, and Dernish need to share the slide.
Yeah.
Dernish, okay.
Think. Is that okay? I hope so. Great, so you can see my screen. Good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to join this final conference for Protoatlantic. It's been a really nice morning listening to the experiences and opinions of everyone. So I hope that with Liam, we can actually do add a couple of notes during this conversation. I am Dernish. I am IMEC's Marine Energy Development Manager. Originally, I used to be a physical oceanographer. Now I work in business development. I am a recovering physical oceanographer, as I usually say. And basically my role in IMEC, amongst other things, is to welcome developers to test at our center. IMEC is the first marine renewable energy test center in the world. We started operating in 2003. And so far we have seen 34 technologies and counting in our 4 test sites. We operate 4 test sites that are open sea and purpose-built. 2 of them are grid connected. There are 2 for waves and 2 for tidal energy. Although marine energy has been our main focus on regarding our market, basically to attract technologies to the site, through time we've been seeing other kind of technologies deployed at IMEC, including subsea robotics and maintenance strategies, instrumentation, subsea components, and now lately we've been working a lot on hydrogen testing and demonstration, liaising with end users on the local energy system on isolated places. So that is really running through IMEC. I understand that we are not, let's see, relaxed in terms of time, so I can wrap it up there.
Thank you. If a project like Protoatlantic, what is the difference in support to startups, companies? Because in startup companies, the researcher are the manager, are the administration people, are only few people work there, and the people are not yet very, very specialized. When you compare with established company, have a research team, and my question is, what is the difference we need to provide to support this type of different companies in the project like our project, like Protoatlantic? Can you clarify, help us to understand the difference from both?
Yeah, I think, Eduardo, it's a very important question you ask. And the reality, I think, oftentimes is that you can't provide, you need to provide specific solutions for specific types of business. So a startup business will require a certain suite of supports in order to help it in terms of maybe market research, in terms of understanding product market fit, you know, maybe early adopters of a technology or so on. So there's a specific suite of solutions, of mentoring, of training that makes sense there. If you are a more established business, obviously you might be looking at scaling up. Maybe you are already in revenue. Maybe you're looking to increase your revenue from, let's say, for argument's sake, 1 million per annum to 5 million per annum, whatever it might be. The focus is very different for that type of business. So in answer to your question, I think providing supports to businesses, for me, begins with a conversation between the business and an experienced mentor, ideally, who can understand what it is that a particular business needs at a particular point in time, and to try and facilitate a bespoke solution for that business based on their particular needs. In a training context, it's much more difficult, I suppose, to be all things to all people. But I think when you have that one-to-one engagement with a business, a quality mentor, many of whom we've seen already present and identified over the last couple of hours on the Protoatlantic program, is really a great, important starting point.
Thank you. And Dennis, you have the same opinion, or you have different?
I absolutely agree with Liam's point of view and the value on a mentoring approach that actually Protoatlantic has applied. And the difference between, you know, a startup and a full-grown established company, mainly working in innovation, in our experience, is that startups, companies, basically they are mission critical. Their technologies are what they are developing, and it is basically the difference between being alive or bankruptcy, the fact that they could or not insert into the market their technology, rather than a big company. Maybe it's just a risk investment, and the approach is different. And that's why I think that the mentor angle has a lot of value. You can actually understand the meaning of the innovation within the startup and how critical that is. Also, as you said, Eduardo, previously, in general, smaller companies that are the majority on this space are not very, they don't have specialized personnel to develop their businesses. Meaning they don't have, you know, a lawyer, an accountant, and separate people to tackle those. And it's important also for maybe strategies to support them, to take that into account and give a hand or offer support when possible in different logistics approaches, navigating contracts and all those things, and not to mention to apply for bids. We just hear about the experience and the recommendation of never stopping looking for funds, and it's absolutely the strategy. And but that requires time that companies that are small companies, tech-oriented, need to take from somewhere. In general, is from the technical development of the technology. They need to step aside and write bids. So I think that those are maybe a few critical points to consider while distinguishing both.
I have several questions, but one very important question. I listened in previous presentations. Some of the projects is so risky and companies need a government financing. I listened in one or two presentations before, and I asked both how to create strategies to funding these activities. I don't know if the best solution is to build a network of the certified such infrastructures, and the projects give money to startups or companies to spend with this network of the infrastructures, or a financing like a Protoatlantic. They finance us to support the companies. What do you think about financing these activities, or the type of financing of these activities?
Is it for me or Liam, or both?
You can start, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Liam coming later, after.
In our experience, grant funding is a core part of the financing for demonstration in general. Maybe there are two things I could highlight related to grant funding. One of them is that in general is money that doesn't come with requirements, meaning that sometimes because of the need of accessing to finances, companies take decision to access private funding with conditions that sometimes they cannot actually fulfill at the end of the day, and that pushes them close to a bankruptcy line at the end of the day, just because they don't have another option. The one thing of accessing grant funding is that in general, they don't have hard conditions after the finance is handled. Starting there, the other thing is that in our experience, we do handle all the, as well as Protoatlantic, all the projects that support access to site. And although we do know that demonstration costs are not only access to site, actually access to site is a small percentage of the overall cost of the project. I'm not saying it's cheap, by the way. I'm saying that demonstrating things offshore is in general very expensive. But it is basically a building block for companies to keep accessing funds. When you have, it's easier to ask for money when you have some money already granted. So I think it is a good strategy. And moreover, thinking about projects like Protoatlantic, which not only gave access for demonstration activities, but only accompanied that by all the commercial context. So I think that is a strategy that could work, although each company is different, each sector is different. So I don't think we will have a unique answer to a funded strategy that fits all.
Yeah. Liam.
Yeah.
You have the same opinion?
Yeah, similar opinion. I suppose we've heard, it was very interesting to hear from Oscar prior to our piece here, talk about the challenge of developing an offshore energy device, and he made reference to the fact that, you know, grant funding, government funding is a key part of the process as he identifies it. I think that will continue to be the case. As Dernis suggests, many of these projects are very capital intensive. They require a lot of investment. They require long lead times to commercialization. They're not typically what venture capital would look at as maybe attractive investments. So I think grant funding and government funding will continue to be key to development in this sector. But the good news at a high level, I think, is that given where we're at now at a European government level, with the European Green Deal being considered Europe's new growth strategy, and the requirements around climate action and the requirements around renewable energy being a particular subsection of that. And I think if you look at offshore wind, for example, I think there's a quadrupling of capacity expected over the next 9 or 10 years in Europe. So there's huge opportunities emerging, but also there are very significant funding mechanisms being made available now to support the Green Deal. So we have things like the Sustainable Europe Investment Plan, which is a €1 trillion investment plan. You have the European Regional Development Fund, I think, which it's a pity that Jeremy isn't here to speak about that a little bit, because there are more opportunities to to move Protoatlantic onto another project, maybe with some of those mechanisms to support developers, and you've the Horizon Europe funding mechanisms as well. So I think it's a good time to be in an industry which is looking to support the decarbonisation agenda, the climate action agenda, the green agenda. So this is positive.
Thank you. George, we have few minutes to more question, or we are in limit?
I think we need to finish, if you're okay with that, because we're out of time.
Okay.
Like
okay.
15 minutes.
I want to thanks to both Dennis and Liam for the participation, and I want to send a big to Jeremy and the fast recovery to Jeremy. Okay, and George, it's a pleasure to work with in Protoatlantic with the whole people. You do a very good job in leading this. It's not easy with the pandemic situation, and also it's a quite new leading with every new companies and new ideas and new things. We are ready now to a Protoatlantic 2. We are more ready now for a second project, and we are in the beginning for this one. This is a quite surprise, a very good surprise, and start to work with reality, with companies, with reality, with problems is a very nice for Ines. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much, Eduardo, for your kind words, and also for Dornis and Liam for this really fruitful participation and discussion in the panel today. And of course, Paulo, for the presentation regarding the results we have achieved within the prototyping and testing support for startups in the project. So now I'm closing this block, and we jump into the last one, which is just the closure of the conference, and probably a few words about the welcome of the event we'll have tomorrow, which is the demo day. I mentioned this previously today. For the pitching in front of investors of several of our startups. They will have that good opportunity tomorrow in order to raise some funds if possible, and good projects are over the table. So Darragh will have now, for closing the conference, Darragh Sullivan from the project manager from the Cork County Council. So Darragh, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for closing the event today.
Thank you, Jorge. I'm just going to share my screen now, people. Can you see that? Is that sharing with you?
Not at the moment. Let's wait for a few seconds. You're sharing, right?
Okay. So thank you, everyone. I think you'll all agree that we had 5 very informative sessions this morning. I've been given the task to close the conference. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the project and the day that we've had, and the conclusions that we can draw from the day. So just to say that my name is Darragh Sullivan. I'm a project manager with Cork County Council.
Darragh, sorry for interrupting
you.
I think we have a problem with your screen. There's no sharing at the moment. Okay. Please check if you are correctly sharing.
Okay.
We can only see your camera, but not your presentation.
Is that sharing now?
Now, I think it's correct. It's in presentation mode.
Is that working for you?
Yes, now. Yeah. Go on, please.
So, as I said, my name is Darragh Sullivan. I'm a project manager with Cork County Council, and we're a partner on the Protoatlantic project. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of the day. So Protoatlantic launched in November 19. It was funded by Interatlantic areas. We had 5 regions: Spain, Ireland, Portugal, France, and the UK. The principal aim was to develop and validate a model for prototyping and exploiting innovative ideas in the marine sector in the Atlantic area. In layman's terms, we wanted to assist startups working in the marine sector with the promotion, growth, and prototyping of their company and products. The project developed an accelerator program to achieve its goal, and it was set around 3 stages: the boot camp, the mentoring, the demo day. The boot camp was the first stage and involved 12 intensive workshops and was a learning by doing. It was run over 2 phases. One phase was set up regionally and covered 2 topics: business model and lean startup. And then phase 2 we did in person in Las Palmas in Spain, where we covered 5 more topics: branding and marketing, economic financial plan, lean management, partnerships and leadership, and a pitch to investors. In all, we supported 130 companies at this boot camp stage. Then we went to the mentoring, and this involved 12 intensive weeks of a mentorship program, which were one-on-one sessions that companies received from their assigned mentor. This allowed participants to refine their business model, validate their marketing, their market potential, and prepare for investment. In all, we supported 43 companies in this area. This then brought us to our final stage, which is the demo day. This is going to happen tomorrow. We're going to have 10 entrepreneurs will be given the opportunity to meet and connect with investors, investment angels. There will be a reverse pitch by investors presenting themselves and their expectations, and the entrepreneurs will be each given an opportunity to pitch to investors. And this could lead to potential investment. The demo day will run from 9:30 to 11:50. There will be an investors network and a reverse pitch. There will be a session 1 will involve the marine renewable energy. Then there will be session 2, which will be based around marine robotics. And the moderator for the day will be Dernice, who has spoken previously. So hopefully, I wish all the companies the best of luck tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a good session. Now, just to bring us to some of the conclusions from today's events. In all, the project now, Jorge, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dara, for your words. I think the conference closed with this. Thanks to all of you for participating and attending. Thank you very much. See you next time. Hope to see you again and collaborate with you in some future adventures. Thank you.